until they opened the stores on Thanksgiving Day. And she said, oh, they'll never do that. So we saw what happened, right? They're open right now. They start opening on Thanksgiving, people are running out of the house. So the question is, this is a sales technique. This is a manipulative sales technique. And this is why I'm going to ask this question. I want you to be honest. How many of you have a negative association to salespeople? Right? Everybody does. Why is that? Right? We all do. So it's conditioned into our DNA, right? We have an immediate negative association to salespeople because we look at salespeople and we don't believe that they have our best interest. Would you say that's true? What are they interested in?
Money.
Getting your money. So this is how, over time, people have been manipulated to do this, and I watch this every single year to a point where we saw a couple of years ago, I believe it was out here, where somebody in Walmart or one of those stores got trampled over and actually killed, right, trying to get a TV set. So the idea is this how we have to sell? Because those of us who are here, and how many of you do this kind of work, healing work, helping people, making the world a better place, right? So there's a disconnect between selling and our belief system. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today, okay? Because we want to get away from the manipulation. That's not the way we have to do it, but we'll talk about how we got there. So I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. Can you tell from my accent? And I'm Italian. So don't mess with me, okay? I know people who know people. So I grew up in Brooklyn. My dad was a detective. He died on the job when I was 12 years old. So I went to work right after high school. I got a job delivering beer on a beer truck, a Budweiser truck. I bought a business when I was 19. I ended up going bankrupt. Didn't know what I was going to do. Went into New York City and got a job as a bartender. So I'm working in New York, working a couple of years, doing pretty well, making some good money. The guy who owned the bar was going out of business. I was getting a little bit older, and I said, I need to get a career. So I don't want to bartend the rest of my life. So I had no resume. So my resume was, truck driver, bankrupt truck driver, and bartender. That was not a stellar resume to go into the corporate world, and I didn't know what I was going to do. So I decided to go into, at that time, we would go out and get the New York Times. How many of you know what a newspaper is? Does anybody know what that is? Do you remember what those look like, those big tabloids? So we would go out in New York, you would get the Sunday New York Times. It was this thing. It was a tree by itself. And you would go out, and in the back of the paper, they had all the classified ads, the job ads. So all the job ads, you're looking through. Has anybody ever looked for a job and you had no idea what you were looking for? Has anybody ever done that? Isn't that exciting? And I'm saying, I don't even know what the job means. How can I go apply for it? So finally, they all wanted a college degree or some kind of education. So finally, I get to the back of the paper, and what's in the back of the paper? The sales jobs. And the sales jobs, to me, all said the same thing. If you're breathing, come in. So I said, I can do that. I'm breathing right now. So I went in, and I went on 4 interviews, and I got 4 jobs. And I found out why, because they don't pay you unless you sold something. So I said, wow, this is so easy. Everyone talks about how hard it is to get a job. I'm knocking it out here. So I take this job. I get a job selling advertising space in a publication, and I did really well. And the reason I did really well was because I was a bartender before that. Building a rapport, so they like me, so I get sales. What am I doing? I'm talking to strangers, building a rapport, so they like me, so they buy something. So I did really well. I took off. Dude, within about 5-6 months, they asked me to start training other people. So they just said, hey, take people out, show them what you're doing during the day. We're going to give you an extra $50. I didn't think it was training. I was like, hey, just pay me $50 to take somebody around. That sounds good. I got antsy. I got into another business. It was a direct mail marketing business. Anybody ever get those coupon packs in the mail? That's what I was doing. I did that for about 5 years, up and down in my income, ended up going bankrupt again. So by 30, I was bankrupt twice. Now here's where it gets interesting for me, and for you, because you're doing a lot of this stuff. Working hard. Even though I didn't go to school, I was doing vision boards. I was talking to myself in the mirror. Has anybody done all this? It was very so I said, man, I don't know what's happening. I said, no matter what I do, I can't seem to get myself to where I want to go. So finally, because I'm exhausted of all options, I decide to go. This is not the Sunday dinner conversation. Nobody's talking about your feelings on Sunday. By the way, how do you... Conversation going? Does anybody sit around? So we can resolve any issues. That's a different...
And ask yourself, what do I need right now? Get a little bit out of your comfort zone. Maybe do something you might not normally do.
From my Catholics, we had the nuns with the things and everything. Now, when I was a kid, we had lightsabers, but they were rulers. They seemed like lightsabers, and they were just beating you over the head. And you would never go home and tell your mother you got hit. It's not like today, right? Today, what happens? They get arrested. He was raping me with his eyes. Please arrest him. I said, oh my God. So imagine what would have happened to the Darth Vader nun. How many of you, as you've gone through your journey, you met different teachers, right? Anybody? You meet different people. I met different teachers at the right time. So finally, through a whole...
last year we are...
A woman didn't know it.
Last year we are in life. So let's get a little wacky.
And she goes, okay, I'm going to be your last teacher. And she said, the problem you have, and block chakras. Oh my. What does that mean? Does that require surgery? What do I do for this?
You guys are awesome.
What do I do about this whole block chakra? I have no idea what that really meant. Now, how many of you know what chakras are? See why I moved to California? Although I do this in corporate, and I have a giant chakra man. I did a presentation for 15 CEOs a few weeks ago, and I bring my slide of my giant chakra man, and I said, you know why your sales are off? You have blocked chakras. You're telling me your salespeople suck, but the reality is you have blocked chakras. How to clear the energy. For myself, I wasn't thinking about so that because the Yankees are on a losing streak. Their heart chakras are blocked. Eric Jeter's in a slump, right? So this was not a conversation I could have with people. So now I'm out there and I'm doing this thing and I start to learn more about it. Now I go back into the corporate world, so I go back into sales. I become a sales manager. I become a national sales director. I'm doing really well, but I'm grinding it out in the corporate world. Finally, in 2002, I said, you know what? I had a contract. My contract ended. The company and I could not come to terms. I went out on my own. And I said, you know, if these spiritual principles and these energy principles work in life, they should work in business. And they should work in sales, even though that was not the way we were trained to sell. Has anybody here worked in a corporation and been trained in corporate sales? Okay, so in corporate sales, especially in New York back then, it was basically kill or be killed. Right, you're going to go out there, and they were teaching you techniques, manipulations, how to get people. So they used to say, has anybody ever got to the training, how to get to a yes? Anybody ever seen that? So the idea was, find a way to manipulate this person until you can get them to say yes, right? There was nothing about, which was very loving, don't you think? So I ended up applying these principles. I started doing it myself. I wrote a book in 2007 called Spiritual Selling, which is still available as an ebook. It's out of print right now. And I have a new book coming out called Heal the Deal, which will be out in about a month, and that's the updated version of that book. It's about using these principles. So I started to use these principles in sales. So I started to show people how to do this, attack people and kill people and do all this stuff. So then, about 2008, I get a phone call from something in New York. Anybody familiar with the New Life Expo? New Life Expo, it's a big expo. It's kind of like this, but a huge, huge expo. So my book had just come out. The guy running the event says to me, hey, Joe, you know what? I'd love you to come. He said, we got all these great people. They're psychics, they're Reiki, they're masters, they're this. They're doing all these things. Nobody's making any money. He said, I'd love you to come. And he said, I could never bring a sales trainer in there because they hate all that kind of traditional selling. They're never going to do that. They're never going to listen to the person who says ABC, always be closing. Anybody ever see that movie? Those are the meetings we were in, ABC. If you ever want to see a great movie with a great sales meeting, it's Glenn Ross. It's an old movie. Alec Baldwin comes in to do a sales meeting, and he puts that up on the board, A, B, C, and he just destroys these people. I've been in those meetings. So now I said, well, I want to help people corporately, but I also want to help all these healers and all these people. So I go there, I speak at this event, I had a lineup of people out the door. They're all saying to me, that's me. I can't sell anything. So here's the deal. We are living in a physical world, correct? Whether we like it or not. You know, I love the Jesus quote, right? I'm in this world, but not of this world. But we are still living in a physical world. So we have to be able to function in a physical environment. You can't walk around and say, I'm not making sales right now, it's Mercury retrograde. All right, this is not going to get you home. I get it, I understand. To understand that I have to be able to operate. So there's two things that you want to be working on. One is your energy. Your energy is critical. How you feel is critically important. The energy you're emanating is critically important. That is a very big deal. The other thing you want to be working on is your level of expertise. Do you know what you're talking about? More importantly, can you speak to me in English? So I meet with healers and they start talking to me about all this weird stuff. I'm like, listen, I know what you're talking about, but I'm 5%. Do you know we're only 5%? The people who are awake are 5%. 95% of the people you're talking to, they're asleep. No judgment. But they are. So I have to be able to communicate to them in a way that they understand. So here's the deal what we're selling. Most important thing. What are people interested in?
Feeling good?
Feeling good? No, not really. People want to be aggravated. We know that. But anyway, I love it. What's that? Who just said that? Give yourself a gold star. Thank you. People are only interested in themselves. We're a world of narcissists at different levels. We're all narcissists because our DNA is about what? Survival. So what is my most important thing for me every day is, what do I get? So when I meet people, say something to me like, well, I'm going to connect to your highest self, and then you'll be able to move into a different vibration, and then your life will be there. I don't know what that means. The average person on the street, if I walk out on the street, now if I walk out to somebody and I say, here's what I'm going to help you do. So what you're going to do, you're going to create what I call a benefit statement. A benefit statement is one sentence that conveys your benefit to me, and it has a purpose. So when I do spiritual selling, I don't lead with spiritual selling, because what does the word spiritual make you think of? God, religion. How many religion? A lot of people. I would get calls from radio stations and TV stations saying, we want to have you on, but are you going to talk about religion? Because they thought spiritual was religious. So that's why I rebranded the book, because I don't want to use the word spiritual. But what I talked about was something I call the attractor sales system. So what I would do is, I'm in a networking event. How many of you go to a networking event? They ever see when they go around the room? I'm over there having an actual nervous breakdown every time. Because they're going around the room, what do you do? I'm a photographer. Please, I'm an accountant. Shut up. Say something interesting. So I'm working with a guy who does mortgages. And he's talking about how he's going to do this all in the mortgages and blah, blah, blah. And this is what I do. And I help people. I said, please, you're annoying me already. Stop. I said, what the business? And he said, Joe, I don't want people to get screwed on their mortgage. There you go. We changed. Don't get screwed on your mortgage. What is that saying to you? How does that hit you? What is the benefit that you're getting there? Right? You feel that it's something about, I'm going to help you with your mortgage. So I would go say, what do you do? I don't say, the minute I say sales trainer, they run out the door. Why? If they hear sales trainer, what do they think I'm going to do? Try to sell them something. They don't want to talk to me. I mean, let's say I'm in a chiropractic event, right? I'd be speaking at an event. They say, what do you do? I say, I help chiropractors double their sales in the next 12 months using the attractor sales system. What do you think they said to me? How do you do it? So that is your job. Your first job is this. I need one line that gets somebody to say, how do you do it? Don't try to go in there. What I see a lot of salespeople do is they go in and see a prospect or they go on an appointment and they throw up. You ever see those people? They just throw up on you for 15 minutes. I'm like, oh my, they're just telling me everything that they're doing. I'm not interested in you. I'm interested in me. What are you going to do for me? So the first thing you want to do is say, how do I convey my benefit in one sentence and get the person to say, how do you do this? Okay, so that is the first thing you need to be able to do. I will tell you that one change will increase your business 30-40%. You put it on your website, you put it on your emails, you put it on whatever it is that you're sending out, and people are going to respond differently because it's all about the benefit to them. So here's the deal. In order for this to work, you have to feel good about saying the line. It's not just saying the line. If I say, well, I'm going to help you maybe double your sales, it's not going to work, right? I need to have that feeling behind it that I believe what I'm saying. If you don't believe what you're saying, then what ends up happening is the message does not penetrate. So you need to be able to sit there and say it with confidence. So I used to practice in the mirror. I'll look in the mirror and I could say it like automatic. It felt great.
Struggles and challenges.
Energy.
I found these mindfulness practices.
Have annoying clients.
That allowed us to.
Why do you want to have annoying clients? Now, no one wants to have annoying clients, but they all do. Why? Because they attracted annoying clients. So the second time especially, I attracted all people who did not pay me. Whose fault was that? That's my fault. Then
to thrive more.
good. So the idea is I'm attracting the clients based on the energy that I'm putting out. Clients who are nice. Appreciation. Does the person appreciate what you're doing? That is a big feeling that you're looking for as you're doing this work. So what I want you to do is say, what energy am I sending out? What kind of people am I? Your relationships, your business is vibration of energy. Vibrate different energy. So the idea is to focus.
So that's what we get to practice.
It should be easy. How many of you think it's easy? That many. Thinking everything's hard. Right? It's hard. So I was in New York a couple of years. Convention. Guy comes up. Hey, Billy. He goes, Joe, I'm killing myself. Of course your business is down the drain. So you have to remember, pay attention to the words you use. Pay attention to what you say to people. Pay attention to how you feel. You're going to vibrate. I want it to be easy. So when I say that, does it feel uncomfortable? Think about that. Say, I want it to be easy. I want my life to be easy. But we did not grow up in this environment of ease. Everything was difficult, battling, pushing, knocking your brains out. So this is about ease. Now, it doesn't mean you don't do any work.
You are tuning in with the Adi mantra and ONG Guru Dev Namo. And it just means
with the world, be of service,
and
share your gifts.
because they're high vibrational sacred sound, so we can run.
Doesn't mean you're not doing anything. Now, what we want to focus our energy on what it is that I want to bring into my life. And how many of you meditate? See, it's a meditating crowd, which I like. I used to teach a lot of meditation in New York. So when I first started, people would come
Breathe deep. And when you breathe,
before I see some action.
expand your belly out.
The racetrack. You know, this is
Exhale, contract.
style.
Sometimes you're breathing the opposite.
I have to do it. I don't have that much time. I need to, from here to here, 3 hours. How do I do that?
And oxygen, the most oxygen to your lungs.
On
Last breath.
why do you
Up the shoulders.
he said, well, to be honest, I want to drive around my old neighborhood with the top down so everybody can see me. Ego. Now, it doesn't mean, understand one thing about energy. Energy is non-judgmental. It does not mean he can't get the Mercedes and drive. Just the feeling is empty. So if the feeling is, I want to that car and it brings me great joy to drive, feed my ego. Your ego is insatiable. What's going to be next? Then I need the next car. Then I need the next car. Then I need the next house. Then I need. This is why people have bankrupted themselves in this country. I have the new Rolex. You have the old Rolex. But understand, it's all ego-driven. So you want your intention to be pure. It doesn't mean you can't have something nice. See, I think that's another thing. You know, I went to Catholic school. They used to teach us, poverty brings you closer to God. Anybody hear that one? This is a teaching that you're a young child. Think about it. You're 6 years old. This is the time when you're very impressionable. I'm 5. I'm supposed to have nothing. Should I give everything away? Should I have no? Darth Vader? There was no Darth Vader. We didn't know that back then. I didn't realize this is the precursor. If I say Lucas, I was going to say that's where I got the Darth Vader, the whole thing. If I say George, understand how you feel, right? So it's about what do I want to bring in? The what and the why are critical because you want to have a why that's in alignment with why you're here. Not just I want it because I want it because I want it. Because we've been set up and conditioned to believe I need the next best thing. Isn't that how it is? If I have this, it's no good. This is so good, I need this. So you've been conditioned to be broke because that's what the credit card companies and these retailers want you to be. So now we get into a situation where you're talking to somebody, and here's what I see all the time, and I want you to be aware of this. How many of you are really excited when you talk about what you do? Right? What happens when you get to the price? Oh, Jesus. I was all excited. And now somebody said, how much is it? Which means, by the way, if somebody said to you, how much is it? That means you did a great job. Because they're excited, they like what you have, they're interested, you've got them excited about what you're doing, you got the whole thing going. Right, so now you go and you say to them, how much is it? How do you feel then? No good. Now I have to tell you the price. So now, here's what happens energetically. Let's talk about what happens in your energy field. You went from here, engaged, you got me engaged, we're both up here, we're excited, we're doing it, I can't believe this is great, I love what you're doing. How much is it, Joe? That's what happens to your energy. I see it every day because I go and train people. I watch them and they do the whole thing and they're all pumped up and this is great and I love my presentation. Fantastic. I am the best at doing this. You don't understand. I'm the best in the world. How much is it, Joe? Right. So now I see it every day. This is why people fail. Because you don't value what you do. So here's the problem. What you do well comes easy to you, correct? So what happens when it comes easy to us? We don't value it because we say, isn't that easy? So I have a guy come, when we were living in New York, we had this amazing carpenter. He used to come and work on the house. Now I am the person who cannot screw in a light bulb. If you ask me to do anything in the house, it's going to go very wrong. So the guy would come over with the T-square and the whole thing, and he's cutting and he's putting up a frame and he's doing this and he's doing that, and I'm watching him like with my mouth open, like that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And he said, oh, I was always handy like this. He said, since I'm a kid, I was building tables, cars. I said, well, the guy could like take anything in this room and build whatever you want. So I'm watching him in this amazement, and I said, you know, it's just so fantastic. I said, I never could do that. He said, Joe, I can't write a book. And it kind of shifted me a little bit. And I said, it's okay for me not to be good at that. I have to accept that. So here's an important part of your journey. Accept yourself. Because none of us are good at everything. Anybody here good at everything? Well, there are certain people who believe they're good at everything, which we know, right? Some of the people in my family do believe that. But what happens is we're not good at everything. So we have to say, hey, I'm good at this. And here's the thing. You're excited when you're doing something you're good at because it's easy. So that's part of the easy. The easy is the skill is easy. I can get up here. I can talk to you guys all day. I don't even have to write a script. I don't even have to. I can just say, I got all this information. I can just pump it out. I feel the energy of the room. That's all I'm going to do. You think that's hard? It's hard for people. What's the number one fear of people? Public speaking. People say to me, how do you do that? Oh my God, I can't even speak to two people at a conference room table. I said, you gotta remember, I grew up in a family where my father was the youngest of 12 kids. We would go there on Sunday. You were not getting any kind of, you needed to get some juice. You had to be able to do something. People played accordions, telling jokes, doing it. They were comfortable in that. That's part of my DNA. So you may be, now I have another friend, internet marketing machine, makes $100,000 a month. If you met the guy, he would never look you in the eye. So he's what I call, he's an engineer. Right? He likes to sit at the, now think about this, how many of you, if you're an engineer type, would like to sit and look at a screen 16 hours a day? Anybody? This is all he wants to do. And he'll show me, let me tell you what I did, Joe. I took this button, I moved it 1/8 of an inch to the left. And by doing that, my increased clicks went up 0.02%. This is the deep, now this, like to me, I'm having an actual colitis ulcer attack as he's telling me this. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? But he is great at, this is what he does. So if I need help with my website, I'm calling him. So certain people are very focused. You know people like that? They're able to really focus. They're able to, other people need to get out. So if I'm having heart surgery, I want my friend doing it. I don't want me doing it because I'm going to say, yeah, well, look at that over there. So understand, first thing is know what you're good at. Live in your wheelhouse because that's where it's going to be easy for you. Now the question is getting the confidence to sell it and feel like you deserve the money. So that's where we are stuck. Most people are stuck in that space. They don't feel like they deserve the money, and because they don't think they deserve the money, they cannot receive it. It's not because you're not good. Because let me tell you something, I've seen speakers that I would walk out and say, that guy was terrible, he just got 20 grand. How did that happen? They believe they're worth it. Think about actors, right? Look at different actors. Now, I have seen talented people. I used to work at a night in New York called The Bitter End. We used to have all kinds of comedians, musicians, studio musicians coming in there. Buster Poindexter would come in there, all these different, they would come up and jam at night and do all these things. There were certain guys that worked in studios. Nobody was better than the other guy, but they felt like they were better. So we get to a point where the skill level is not the issue. It's not the issue. You know, I've worked with a lot of different companies, real estate, insurance, all these different people. If I'm sitting in a room full of seasoned professionals, difference of talent between one and the other. It's not a big difference. It's a different feeling. They feel they deserve it. If you don't feel you deserve it, I don't care. I went there. I worked and worked and worked, and I said, why can't I get it? Through. So I want to give you something to really focus on now, which is going to help you overcome this. Because this, and I had to keep working on it. And one of the things I think that's important, you don't finish. People always say that. So when can I just be done with these chakras already? I'm done with this. You're never done. Here in physical form, you're dealing with life. You're dealing with people. People die. You have to deal with issues. This is part of being human, right? Myself. So when something happens, now when I work with people and I teach them this work, they can deal with it really fast. So it doesn't sit there. I used to go into very deep depression for months and months at a time. Didn't come out of the room on the whole thing. You couldn't imagine that right now, seeing me now. You're saying, how is that possible? Into a very deep state of depression. Right? Some people make themselves physically sick. Some people go out and do it through overindulgence. You know, they shop, they eat, they drink, whatever it is that they do. Our energy. So we have to learn to say, when something's bothering me, I need to deal with it. I need to understand, but here's the key. I don't know what I'm feeling. You need to know what you're feeling. The first thing is this. You have two levels of emotion. One is the surface. Right, we've all been angry. Most people stop there, and they react to the anger by responding in what I call your routine. So your routine could be, I get depressed, whatever it is. What you need to ask yourself is, what am I angry about? Why am I angry? What am I actually feeling? So what you want to do is say, I have to go past the anger, to go underneath the anger, to understand what I really feel. So I've had this with a lot of people, especially in the sales world. And I had a guy say, I did this presentation, and the guy made a comment to me at the end, and he walked out. He was all bent, he was all upset, and what did he do? He projected all his anger onto the guy. I said, well, first of all, you attracted the guy. So you could help yourself learn something. So I said, how did you feel when that guy walked out before you were done? Now, you don't know what happened. Maybe he got a phone call. Maybe his son's in the hospital. It didn't matter. He immediately was triggered. So he said, I felt dismissed. That's what he felt. It wasn't that he was angry. He felt dismissed. Now we go, how did you feel dismissed when you were a kid? He said, my father. He started to cry. Why? Because that was the feeling his soul needed to experience. So when you're not moving forward, it's not because you're not smart. It's not because you're not beautiful. It's not because you're not doing a great job. It's not because you're working hard. It's because you have energy that is stuck. But I need You want to be able to get underneath. And once you go, so here's what happens. The way we short is when you feel your emotion, when you allow yourself to feel the pain. This is counterintuitive for humans. You have to understand, humans are designed because the only way you get out of it. So one of the things for me that I had to work on was like a failure. I really to people and I feel like a failure. If you go to some, I'm such a loser right now, what will they say? Oh, you're a good guy. Oh, that's the worst thing that could ever happen. But that's what you do because that's what you feel like you're supposed to do. What they should say is, you know, right now, you're the biggest loser I've ever seen. Feel it. Allow yourself to feel it. So energy works like this. It swings, right? So if I'm swinging over here in failure and I'm not letting myself feel the failure, I can't get out of it. The minute I sat there and said, I feel like a failure and a loser, bang, the energy just dropped out. And the energy was released, and all that tension and stress was taken out of my system. It's what you truly feel. Because here's the deal. I was not going to be a loser forever. The way you frame it for yourself is this. Like a loser right now. So you're putting a time. It's time, but you're not going to always feel like a loser. The minute you accept it, you release the energy, and you start to move forward. So that's your ticket. So if you go out and sit with someone and they
squeeze the spine.
This is how much it is.
Exhale, keep it.
Say, that's too expensive. What should you say? What do people do? I'll lower the price. No! That's the price. Maybe you have a package or something else that's less, but you know what? People say to me, I want to do coaching. I said, well, that's the price. You know what? I don't have that money. You know, buy a book. I have books. I have online courses. I have other stuff that's cheaper. I can't lower my value.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Was that you in the red?
Feel the difference in your body.
Ladder? Here's the deal. You've got to sit there and say, I feel good about this price. Now here's what happens. Your prices go up. You know when your prices go up? As you get busier. So does everybody know John Edward? You know the medium? 1997. 1997, I'm just getting into this work. My wife knew of course, my father had passed away. And John Edward, we were living in Long Island. John Edward was doing sessions out of his house in Huntington, Long Island. So I get a phone call. At that time, I was working for a cable company. I was selling advertising on cable TV. She calls me in the car. She goes, Joe, listen, so-and-so can't go to the appointment with John Edward. I think you should go because you lost your dad, right? So I said, well, who's John Edwards? He was a medium. He talks to dead people. I said, oh, Jesus Christ. I said, I'm trying to make a sale today. You know, I can't worry about dead people coming into my life. So anyway, she gives me the address. I said, okay, whatever. It was like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm out selling. I'm done. I drive over to it's a house, a regular house. So I'm driving there. I'm starting to, because I don't know who this guy is. He wasn't known then. He wasn't like anybody knew. He was just kind of known in the area. So now I'm driving there and I'm saying, Jesus, I hope this is not like some weird guy with smoke machines, robes. I don't know what he's got. I don't know what's going on. He's like a weird guy with a beard, I don't know. So I'm driving there. Has anybody ever seen him? He's the most regular looking guy, right? He's like, I get to the door. He's got a t-shirt and jeans. Hi, I'm John. How are you? He said, do I have Mick? I said, no. I said, she couldn't make it. I'm taking her spot. We go up. He does this amazing session, connects me to my dad. Like, incredible. I had never done it before. I sat in the car for 1 hour. I could not drive home. My whole energy was so crazy after that. Connects me. Starts telling me all these crazy things. And in between this amazing reading, he's saying things to me like, did you just put outlets in your bedroom? I said, excuse me? that come from? You just talking about your father went down the block and the guy was going to shoot him. I said, what? That's a validation. Actually, I just had the electrician here like 2 days ago. So he goes, that's just a validation to know that he's around. So when we do this amazing session, I come home. It was $150 in 1997. How much do you think it is today? Thousands. Now, it's just supply and demand. His value rose as his energy elevated. Is he better? He's probably better than he was then, but not 100,000 times better than he was then. He's not 150 to 2,000 better. It's like a movie star. They do a movie, they make nothing. All of a sudden, they make $5 million. They get so much better from one movie to the next. Energy. So here's the deal. And I want to leave you with this today because this is the key for you to really go forward. The biggest to block you is a feeling of shame. Shame is a
So, we really work with the law of attraction and use our breath to elevate our energy so that we can really manifest what we want into our life and so that we can let go of what's holding us back from receiving. So, we want to help you guys and teach you something quickly to help you to let go. Because we find a lot of times people feel blocked, or you may feel like, I want this thing, or I feel really conscious and mindful about what I want to manifest, but for whatever reason it's not matching up. So, guys, to release and clear the subconscious and know how to do that, so that you can let go of what's in your way of doing that. So, if you guys can come up with something right now, we want you to come up with one thing that you're ready to let go. So you can write it down real quick if you have your journals. You can just become really clear and conscious, really bring it to the forefront of your mind. Something that you're not going to take with you into 2020. What are you going to leave behind in 2019? Maybe it's a pattern, maybe it's a thought you have, maybe it's a situation, a job, a toxic
but you've got to put that vibration out there. As I started elevating my energy, coming out of the woodwork. Oh, Joe, I saw you here. I want to help you. Where was all? I said, why did this happen? Feelings.
Maybe self-talk.
I'm going to give you 2 gifts, okay? spiritualsaturdays.com. This one. I want to give you a 20-minute strategy session. Okay, we'll do it on the phone. At JOENUNZ.com. So Joe at Joe. In the subject line. No obligation. I'm not going to sell you anything. Help you. If I may know somebody who can help you. See, it may not be me. See, that's another thing, right? I may not, but I could connect you with somebody who can. I don't have to take, that's good vibes for me. Right? We're so nervous about, if I give it away, it's going to be, I can't give it away. There's no shortage of business, money, opportunities. There's no shortage. The more you live in a fear base, the worse you're going to be. So understand this. You're here to do, but here's the key. And receive. When you go out of balance, that is not, the universe does not want this. The universe wants this. The universe wants you to be balanced. It does not want you to say, oh, all I do is give. Be a martyr. You know martyrs? Most of my family, but they're around. They're all martyring left and right. That's what Italians do anyway. It's just part of their thing, right? Oh, I'm doing everything and nobody cares. Well, why are you doing it? I have to do it. See, this is, you have to watch these terminologies. Why do you have to do it? Well, that's what I have to do. That's why I'm here. Really? To be in pain? To suffer and then to make everyone else miserable? Is that your job? Is that what you signed up for when you came? And then walk around and tell everybody how miserable you are, and then sit around. See, Italians is one thing that we have a tradition. When we were back, they want to sit and everybody talks who's dying, who's dead, who should be dead, who's going into surgery, and who they hate. That's basically the conversation. So this is important. Surround yourself with high vibration. Surround yourself with people that are like you. Get involved. I'm involved in the Holistic Chamber of Commerce, which is a great organization. If you have any questions, I'll hook you up with the right groups. We have.
This is a acupuncture plant.
He's right here, very dear friend of mine. So if you're interested in the Holistic Chamber, getting around good people, people that have high vibration, do that. Do yourself a favor. But most importantly, your job every day is simple. Love yourself and allow yourself to receive. May you be blessed. Thank you, everybody.